Hi guys, in this lesson I'm going to talk about the minor 6 pentatonic and show you some of the many places you can put that to good use. So I expect that most people who are watching my videos know already what a minor pentatonic scale is. So in this case, A minor pentatonic would of course be A, C, D, E, G, and then we're back on A. So a 5-note scale that is pretty much the first scale that everybody learns on guitar. In this lesson I'm going to talk a little bit about another scale that's a variation in this, which is something that you can use a lot, because one of the things that I've already made several videos about using the pentatonic scale on different chords, but one thing that the pentatonic scale doesn't do that well is dominant and minor 6 kind of sounds and half diminished chords, mostly because the pentatonic scale does not, the way we normally know a minor pentatonic scale, it doesn't have a tritone. So we're missing this to play something that really fits with this. But we can of course alter the scale so that we actually have a tritone. And the way you do that is that you change the 7th degree, so the G, into an F sharp. So that's quite simple. So if I do that for the standard box here, then it's going to be this scale. And then we have another pentatonic scale that we can start exploring, and that will cover chords with tritones a bit better and kind of really still sort of show the sound or get the sound across of that chord. So of course you can do this in all 5 positions of the pentatonic scale, and I'll leave a link here to my website where I've written out all the positions. I have a part of my website that has all these scale charts and arpeggio charts, and I'll add this one with a minor 6 there, so you can download it there if you want to check them out. For the rest, it's a very good exercise to just take your minor pentatonic scales and then alter them and see how you do this, just so that you use it as an exercise in knowing the notes that are in your scales if you need such practice. Maybe you can also just try and play it and see what happens if you're in any kind of position. So we have this scale. The first thing we should look at is maybe what kind of chords we can find in there, because that's going to tell us something about where we can use it. And the first one is fairly obvious. That's an A minor 6. So basically anything that we can use that uses an A minor 6 as an upper structure will work with this pentatonic scale. The next one we can check out is that we also have, in fact, a D7. So that probably also already tells us something. And of course if we have A minor 6 we also have F sharp half diminished, which is an inversion of the A minor 6. But just for where we're using it, it's kind of nice to have that observation that it's there. So we have these 3 chords. So now we can just look at what can we actually use the scale for. So in the first example, I'm using the pentatonic scale as a tonic minor sound, which means that I'm using an A minor 6, fairly obvious, the best place to start probably, and just in a cadence, in an A minor cadence. So not really too strange what's going on. We have the B half diminished and an E7 flat 9, and I'm using an F major 7 arpeggio for the B half diminished, and then I'm going to a D diminished triad on the E7, and then on the A minor 6 I'm playing first this sort of A minor 6 or F sharp half diminished arpeggio, and then I'm running up the scale, and then I'm ending on the C. The second example is using it over a D7, so that sounds like this. So basically just a 2-5-1 in the key of G, so A minor 7, D7, G major, and well the A minor line is more or less just no, actually it's entirely just a run in the C major 7 arpeggio, starting on the 5th of the C, C major then, so on the 7th. And then on the D7, so I'm really in this position and using that pentatonic scale, so it's really something D7-ish, because we now have the F sharp and the D, and then an A minor triad, which is of course still included, and then this scale run, which kind of nicely encircles the 3rd of the G major 7. The third example is using it on an F sharp half diminished chord, and it sounds like this. So what we have here is a cadence in the key of E minor, so F sharp half diminished, B7 altered, and then E minor 7. And what I'm doing is that first it's just, again it's really in this position. First just the F sharp half diminished triad, and then I'm using sort of one of these more almost visual things that you can do with a pentatonic scale, where I'm just playing each string descending. So that's, and with the pentatonic scale, stuff like this almost always kind of works. So that's a nice way to find some melodies, just by trying to play something that actually feels natural and then turning that into a melody. That's a nice way to come up with melodies. And then I'm moving to the B7 altered. There I'm first playing this augmented triad, so D sharp augmented triad, and then running up the scale, and then resolving that to the 5th of E minor. The fourth example is using it on an A flat 7 altered chord, and that sounds like this. So this is just a 2-5-1 in the key of D flat, but then with an altered dominant, so it's E flat minor 7, A flat 7 altered, and then D flat major 7. And the line on the E flat minor 7 is just the arpeggio, and then a few passing notes, and then moving down to the 3rd of the A flat 7. And on the A flat 7, essentially I'm just running up the scale, and then just back down to the F sharp, because then I'm encircling the 5th of the D flat that I resolved through. So why does this work? Well, this is an A flat, this is an A minor 6 pentatonic, and it's actually a pentatonic scale that you could find in as a subset of an A minor melodic scale. So in that way, it's actually included in the sound that we would use for A flat 7 altered, which is the same as A minor melodic. So in that way we can work. You can also see it in the chords that are included, because we have the A minor 6, and A minor 6, if I put an A flat in the bass of that, that's an A flat 7 altered. Another giveaway is that we have a D7 in the chord, in the scale, which is of course the tritone of A flat. So that's also why that works like this. And there are a lot of nice things that you can sort of pick out of it like this, and it's a good alternative to the other pentatonic scales that you use on an altered chord, which would be in this case the D major or B minor pentatonic scale, which works too, but you kind of, which is the whole point of the scale, you miss the tritone. So in this scale, since you have that, you kind of have a more strong hold of the sound of the chord, I think anyway. And that's very practical for this. So that's one of the main places where I use this on altered chords and on dominant chords. There was some examples of how you can apply this minor 6 pentatonic scale on some different chords. Because pentatonic scales are 2 notes per string, or at least they can be played 2 notes per string, they're sort of by themselves practical for certain things on guitar, and for that reason alone it's kind of nice to check them out. You can do some interesting stuff with it, and it's fairly playable. I also think that a scale like this has a nice it's a nice way of sort of emphasizing certain specific sounds on a chord that you then pull out, and because you have them, you have less notes in this, you're really emphasizing them in the melodies you play. And also the fact that you have larger intervals in the scale gives you some melodies that you otherwise would not as easily come up with, and that's something that I like. That's why I use pentatonic scales quite a lot. If you want to practice this, you can of course go to my website and download the scale chart that I talked about already. You can also go to the article that is accompanying this lesson. There's a PDF download of all the examples if you want to check out the lines that I made. Or if you like this lesson, then please like it here on YouTube. And if you have any comments or suggestions for topics or things that you do differently or explain more, then let me know in a comment or connect with me on social media like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, and let me know there. It's always nice to get feedback, and especially suggestions for topics are always welcome, because I want to make the lessons that you guys want to watch, and I want to help you guys get further with exploring jazz guitar. So please let me know what you're looking for, then I'll try and see if I can make a lesson on it. I think most of the time I've managed to make lessons. A few times I've explained that it might be something that I don't want to make a lesson on for some reason or other. Mostly because it's not possible to really make a nice video lesson on it. But I do really appreciate all the ideas and suggestions. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, then you can of course subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with the lessons. I make a lesson every week, and I have been for quite some time, so I made, or for 1.5 years. So I've made quite a lot of lessons already, and there's a lot of stuff covered that you can check out by subscribing to the channel. If you're interested in the lessons that I'm doing here on the channel, but also on what's going on with CDs and where I'm playing and tours with my band and stuff like that, then you can also, on my website, subscribe to my newsletter. I try to send out a newsletter every month with whatever's going on, concerts that I'm playing or have played, or new things that are happening, and of course also an overview of the lessons. And that's also a way to get back to me. If you answer the newsletter, then I'll get an email, and then you can communicate with me like that, if you prefer that to social media. So that's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.